Assalamu alaikum students. Last time we were talking about cyclic hydrocarbons. Firstly, we discussed hydrocarbons, types of hydrocarbons. Like we have two types of hydrocarbons. One is saturated, another is unsaturated hydrocarbons. We discussed alkynes, we discussed alkenes, we discussed alkynes. In the last video lecture, we studied about cyclic hydrocarbons. And as far as cyclic hydrocarbons are concerned, I told you people that in addition to the straight chain hydrocarbons and branched chain hydrocarbons like saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbons, there are some other hydrocarbons in which the carbon atoms are arranged in the form of a ring. Such hydrocarbons are particularly called as cyclic hydrocarbons. So if somebody will pose you a question, what are cyclic hydrocarbons, you people should answer in a jiffy that these cyclic hydrocarbons are actually the hydrocarbons in which the carbon atoms are arranged in the form of a ring. Cyclic hydrocarbons are of two types. They may be saturated or unsaturated as well. Now, as far as the last video lecture is concerned, we discussed one of the important I can say type of the cyclic hydrocarbon, that is a saturated cyclic hydrocarbon. Saturated means where there is carbon-carbon single bonds, and we discussed an important structure, that is C6H12. We discussed C6H12, also called as cyclohexane. We discussed this cyclohexane. Regarding this cyclohexane, I told you people that a molecule of cyclohexane contains 6 carbon atoms and 12 hydrogen atoms. 6 carbon atoms arranged in a hexagonal ring with each other, with each carbon atom, having 2 hydrogen atoms attached to it. So, as far as this cyclohexane molecule was concerned, which we discussed in the last video lecture, that this cyclohexane molecule has 6 carbon-carbon single bonds and 12 carbon-carbon carbon-hydrogen single bonds. So these saturated hydrocarbons, I told you people one thing there as well, that these saturated cyclic hydrocarbons are also called as cycloalkanes. These were also called as cycloalkanes, and I told you people that these cycloalkanes may have lesser number of carbon atoms as well in the ring. For example, this cycloalkane having 3 carbon atoms, this I can say contains 6 carbon atoms. If the cycloalkane contains 3 carbon atoms, but in the ring form, we call that particular cyclic hydrocarbon as cyclopropane, and the cycloalkane with 4 carbon atoms, we call that particular hydrocarbon as cyclobutane, whereas the cycloalkane having 5 carbon atoms in the ring, we call that particular hydrocarbon as cyclopentene. So we may have other hydrocarbons as well as cyclopentene, cyclohexane, like this, cycloheptane, cyclooctane, in which there is 8 carbon atoms in the form of a ring, cyclooctane, cyclonone, and cyclodecane as well. So this was actually the recapitulation of the last video lecture which we discussed. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss one more type of these cyclohydrocarbons, that is such unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons. So students, let's discuss what actually these unsaturated cyclohydrocarbons are. So students, let's discuss these unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons. First thing, you must remember that unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons, unsaturated. In the last video lecture, I told you people that these hydrocarbons are of two types. One is saturated, where there is carbon-carbon single bonds, and unsaturated means where there is carbon-carbon double bonds. We have two types of unsaturated hydrocarbons, which we discussed in the previous lectures, that unsaturated hydrocarbons are of two types. One are called as alkenes, alkenes, and another is alkynes. Alkenes are whenever there is carbon carbon double bond, we call those hydrocarbons as unsaturated hydrocarbons, but we call them as alkenes because there is carbon carbon double bond. So we have one more type of unsaturated hydrocarbons, that's alkyne, where there is carbon carbon triple bond. So students, you people must remember that whenever I talk about unsaturated, that means either that is carbon carbon double bond or carbon carbon triple bond, because unsaturated hydrocarbons are of two types. One are called as, first is called as I can say alkenes, and another is called as alkynes. So unsaturated cyclic, whenever there is cyclic, that means ring form. Unsaturated carbon carbon double bond, and I can say cyclic means where there is a ring formation, and hydrocarbon means where there is compounds of carbon and hydrogen, that means carbon and hydrogen are present, and we call those particular cyclic hydrocarbons as unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons. So students, you must remember that these unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons are actually the hydrocarbons in which there is a carbon carbon double bond, but there is a carbon carbon double bond, but you people must remember there is also a ring form. A carbon carbon, the carbon atom is present but in the form of a ring. That's why they are called as unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons, and unsaturated means carbon carbon double bonds. So one of the brilliant examples as far as this benzene is concerned is that it is actually the unsaturated hydrocarbons. One of the brilliant examples of unsaturated hydrocarbon is benzene. It's a beautiful picture of a benzene. Beautiful picture of a benzene. The formula of benzene is C6H6. C6H6. So students, jot it down with me that the first thing you must remember as far as this unsaturated is a beautiful example of an unsaturated hydrocarbon, where you people will see the carbon carbon double bonds, alternate carbon carbon double bonds, I mean say. So whenever I talk about this benzene, it's a beautiful example of unsaturated hydrocarbon. So the formula of this benzene is C6H6. That means a molecule of benzene is made up of 6 carbon atoms, 6 carbon atoms and 6 hydrogen atoms. Look students, this one carbon, this is second carbon, this is third carbon, this is fourth carbon, this is fifth carbon, this is sixth carbon. That means it contains 6 carbon atoms and it also contains 6 hydrogen atoms. Look students, this is hydrogen number 1, this is hydrogen number 2, hydrogen number 3, hydrogen number 4, hydrogen number 5, hydrogen number 6. Jot it down students with me that the formula of benzene is C6H6. That means it's made up of, I mean say that 6 carbon atoms along with the 6 hydrogen atoms. So the formula of the benzene is C6H6 and it have been categorized as unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons. Now the question arises, my dear students, somebody will pose you a question that why this benzene have been categorized as unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbon. The only reason, the only funda behind that is because this benzene contains alternate carbon carbon double bonds. This is carbon carbon double bond, this is carbon carbon double bond, this is carbon carbon double bond. And I told you people I told you must remember that in the last video lecture I told you people that in is actually prefix used for carbon carbon double bond. Look, that's why this is called as benzene. So it's a flat symmetrical molecule with structural formula that's often formalized as cyclohexatriene. Now the question arises, my dear students, here that why this is called as cyclohexatriene. This actually every single compound is having two names. One is common name, another is I can say IUPAC name. We are going to discuss these things further in upcoming lectures. I mean say what actually these I can say common names and IUPAC names are. These names or these things are actually related to the nomenclature which we are going to discuss, I mean say within 1 or 2 lecture. So students, why this benzene is called as cyclohexatriene. Whenever I talk about cyclo, I told you people that cyclo is used for ring formation, a ring where there is a ring present, I can say ring of carbon atoms present. Cyclo means where there is a ring, hexa means 6 carbon atoms, it's a ring form. It's a ring form. Look at the beautiful picture of this benzene, students. It's a ring form, and hexa means 6 carbon atoms, 1 carbon, second, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon atoms. Tri means, whenever I talk about this tri means 3. This is one. Triene means 3 carbon double bonds. That means you must remember that, students, this benzene contains 3 carbon double bonds. So my dear students, that's why this benzene is called as cyclohexatrene. Now, students, why this benzene is also called as, I can say, IUPAC name of this benzene is cyclohexatriene. Now, the question arises, somebody will pose you a question that why this benzene is also called as cyclohexatrine. You people should answer in a jiffy that cyclo means ring, hexa means 6, and triene means 3 carbon double bonds. Look, students, this is 1 carbon double bond 1, carbon double bond 2, carbon double bond 3. That's what triene. Ene is used, it's a prefix used for carbon double bond. So this is also called as cyclohexatriene. In other words, as a structural formula that involves 6-membered carbon ring. It's a 6-membered carbon ring. It's like this. It's like this, students. It's like this, students. It's like this. 6-membered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's
6-membered carbon ring with 3 double bonds are present. This alternate, I told you people, this benzene contains alternate carbon double bond. That means one alternate. Whenever I talk about alternate, that means one after the other. Look, this is one, here is a double bond. Single bond, then double bond, then single bond, then double bond. That's why I told you this is carbon. Here is also carbon. This is carbon double bond. Here's a carbon. Here's a carbon. That's carbon double bond. Here's a carbon double bond. So that's why this benzene is also called as cyclohexatrene, and in other words, as a structural formula that involves a 6-membered carbon ring. The 6-membered, one carbon, the second carbon, my dear students, the third carbon atom, the fourth carbon atom, the fifth carbon atom, and this is sixth carbon atom. That's why this is, I can say, this is a 6-membered carbon ring with 3 double bonds. So one double bond, second double bond, and third double bonds are present. So benzene, this was actually the structure of the benzene. So this benzene have been categorized as unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbon. This was actually the structure of the benzene. Let's move forward. Let's discuss some more points. So, my dear students, this benzene, now that a molecule of a benzene contains 3 carbon, jot it down with me, students, 3 carbon double bonds, 3 carbon double bonds, carbon double bonds, double bonds. So bottom line of the story is, students, that this benzene is unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbon and it contains 3 carbon double bonds. 1, 2, 3. That means contains 3 carbon double bonds and 3 carbon single bonds. 3 carbon single bonds. 1, 2, students, that's 3. This means this contains 3 carbon single bonds. Carbon single bonds, my dear students. So, and it also has 6 carbon hydrogen single bonds, my dear students. 6 carbon hydrogen single bonds. You must remember, my dear students, you must remember that I told you people that only funda behind sharing of electrons is that to make itself stable. So as far as this benzene is concerned, the nitty-gritty of the I can say the bottom line of the story right now is that this benzene is unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbon and it contains 3 carbon double bonds and 3 carbon single bonds. This is carbon double bonds 3 and 3 carbon single bonds 1, 2 and 3. 6 carbon hydrogen single bonds. This is 1 carbon hydrogen single bond, second carbon hydrogen single bond, third carbon hydrogen single bond, fourth carbon hydrogen single bond, fifth carbon hydrogen single bond, sixth carbon hydrogen single bond. So the bottom line of the story is that this benzene contains 3 carbon carbon double bonds, 3 carbon carbon single bonds, and 6 carbon hydrogen single bonds. So students, this was, I can say, a short glittering glimpse of these unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons. In the next video lecture, we are going to discuss some more regarding these unsaturated cyclic hydrocarbons. Till then, keep practicing and stay safe, stay blessed, and stay at your homes. Allah bless you all. Thank you for watching this.